Live from the Motor City, all the way to the Volunteer State. It's time for the Reckless Speculation Podcast, where we recklessly speculate the latest news in the world of sports. From college football to NASCAR, we've got you covered. And don't forget to stick around for the world-famous Bet Your Nuts, where we will give you your best bets to make the most money. Now sit back, grab your favorite drink of choice, and join Robbie Davis, Raj Mehta, Brandon Chain, and Tom Sloan. It's showtime.
What's happening, everyone? I would first like to say that I've missed you greatly. We have been off for about a month, partially because of retooling the studio, among other things, and new sponsors and personality disagreements with management. And our publicist wasn't quite doing the job she was hired to do. But we're happy to be back. And we're also waiting till football season starts. But I'd be remiss if I didn't start out with the loss that we just found out, rest in peace, of the Say Hey kid, Willie Mays. Up until today, the longest living baseball Hall of Famer, the greatest living baseball Hall of Famer. The Say Hey kid, which actually was given to him his rookie year out of high school in 1950. He was saying, say what, say who, say hey, and a journalist just stuck with it. And that's what people called him. And he transcended race and baseball. And as a Dodger fan, unfortunately, one of the most famous calls is the Giants win the pennant. And I believe it was that game when Mays made arguably the greatest catch in baseball history. Full speed basket catch back in the day when outfields were about the size of a country. And just a great human being who endured all sorts of things and came out smiling. He helped with the expansion of Baseball West. He is just an amazing ambassador for the game, regardless of color, and he will certainly be missed. And wanted to start with that, a great rest in power to the great Willie Mays. Moving towards the show, I think I remember these guys' names. Starting first, let's start with our golf expert out of Nashville and soon to be fellow conference member in the Big Ten, Brandon Chain. What's up, Chain?
Been too long, man. RIP. But man, it's been a long time, and I'm excited to get back on here. Feels weird, like starting over again, but I'm ready for it.
Plus, like, there's a lot of golf and stuff. It's kind of crazy, which is good because it's actually interesting to me. I'm just kidding. But it is.
We'll get into that.
I can't wait. Next, we will go to our attorney extraordinaire, Robert Davis. Robert, what's up? How was Memphis?
Memphis was good as always. I'm one of those people that love Memphis. Great food, great partying, and what have you not. But yes, RIP Willie Mays. What kids today will never realize, and we weren't alive when this happened either, but it's another generation away. Willie Mays gave up 2+ years of baseball to go fight in a war, or his numbers, he would be the home run king. Maybe the greatest baseball player that ever lived. And 2 years of statistics left out because of fighting in the war. It just blows my mind.
It's a great point. He ended up with 660 home runs despite 2 active years in military service.
Yeah.
It's insane. It truly is. I mean, people were just built different then, and Willie Mays was one of those.
Today, athletes can't stay off of Instagram. Imagine them going to fight in a war.
That's scary.
When TikTok is down, it is like a war for them. Finally, Captain Michigan, Captain Detroit, everything seems to be going his way. Well, it was. The Tigers started to suck again, but let's go to Captain Detroit. Tom Sloan, how are we doing today? Welcome back.
What's up, fellas? Great to be back. And speaking of RIP, I think we're going to RIP the Florida Panthers. It's now 3-0, second period, game 5. They're up 3-1, but boy, oh boy, those Oilers are looking pretty strong. The big boys are putting it together. I think it's going to be a long next couple games for the Panthers, but nonetheless, yes, Willie Mays, unbelievable, that catch, which we just saw a catch similar in the college regionals. Kid from Clemson that just, unbelievable catch. Ran into the wall. They were comparing it to Willie Mays' great catch. So, definitely one of the greatest and great point, Robbie. We live in an era where these athletes are celebrities and you would never see any of them ever go into service except for Tillman, Pat Tillman, rest in peace. He was the only one that actually was selfless enough to do something. So, but back in the day, that was commonplace. Baseball was just kind of like what they did during the summer, and they had careers. In the off season, they sold cars or insurance, or they had, factory jobs. But that's a great stat. That's a great remembrance. So rest in peace for sure.
Yeah, and admittedly, folks, now I'm a Laker fan. We have 17 championships. So did another team that wears green from a city that I deem racist just because I'm petty. But they won number 18, blah, blah, blah. Nobody watched. It was a 3-year low in ratings. But no, congratulations to the Boston Celtics. That's all I was going to say about it. There wasn't much else to say. It wasn't much of a series. Kyrie went Kyrie, and Luka played like a European guy that was outmatched by a much more complete team. I was prepared to minimize the NHL finals as well. But it looks like the high-flying Edmonton Oilers with McDavid and Leo Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins, Zach Hyman, Evander Kane, they are fast, kind of like what Vegas was. As a Kings fan, they just torched us. I think they were like 90% on the power play. And they waited. And what they win last game, Tom? 8-1.
8-1. Yeah.
And right now it's 3-0, and they're scoring shorthanded goals. And, I thought Florida was going to sweep them after the first 2 games, but maybe not. And that's all we're going to say about that because it's not golf and it's not the WNBA, which is jumped both of those, in my opinion, in terms of a product. And it is not football. And we don't give a shit what it is about football. We're going to talk about something, something good. But I'm going to start out actually, real quick, basketball-wise, Vegas already came out with the Celtics being the front runner to repeat. Tom or Brandon or Rob, any of you guys all watch casually, Tom. The Pistons are irrelevant. We need to focus on other teams. But who's the biggest challenger? Now, this is in light of free agency coming. But is there a team that's 1 or 2 pieces away that could really challenge this Celtic team? Because that's what they do, and they play defense, and getting Drew Holiday pushed them over the top. But who would you guys say maybe is 1 or 2 pieces away from challenging that team?
I think Dallas. If they had a legitimate big man down below that could take a lot of pressure off Luka. Let's face it, Luka single-handedly led them to the NBA Finals this year. He didn't have anything left. I think game 2, he was questionable going into the game. He had a shoulder injury. He had a hip injury. He had a sore back. I mean, he was laying it all on the court each and every night. So if they had somebody that could kind of take that body, keep him out from underneath the paint a lot, they would really bode well. Because I do think if Kyrie Irving just stuck to doing point guard activities, focus on distributing the ball, not being such a selfish player, they could be okay. And then you look at Minnesota, who just blew up on the scene this year. Karl Anthony Towns, he's been there for a few years now. And Edwards, that we talked about in previous shows, they're right there. They're building. I don't think they have to do anything. I really think that with the experience they gained in this playoff run, beating the 23 champs in Denver, that built them pretty good. So I think if they kind of keep the same nucleus together, they'll be okay. And then you always got to look at Milwaukee. Milwaukee did not have a healthy Giannis all season long. He missed the playoffs basically, and you get rid of arguably the best defender in the NBA, the aforementioned Drew Holiday, who went to Boston, who, hey, let's face it, they're champions because of Drew Holiday. So I think if you can get them healthy or get Giannis healthy again, he's the best player in basketball next to Luka and the big man there in Denver. So I think those are three teams that could compete. Other than that, I mean, you got a lot of names. I really don't think LeBron and the Lakers are going to get enough to make a run. I know that upsets you there, Raj, but I just think there's a lot of personality clash there. And then you've got the Clippers who are going to make a run at Paul George, but I don't think that's anything to write home about. So those three, I think, are ones that I would say could compete.
Yeah, I to piggyback off of that, yeah, I like Minnesota and I like Denver. And what I think
what about OKC, man? OKC, they're so young, but
what we're seeing in the NBA is what we have seen over the last decade in baseball, right? So who are the smart GMs? And let's start there and let's figure out how to build a team. It is moving to less superstar driven and more team chemistry. You have Denver, you have OKC, Minnesota, Minneapolis, like it in Boston. Like not necessarily, Boston's always been one of those great franchises, but to Raj's point, not necessarily a place people, especially in the Black community, want to live. And so you're getting athletes, you're building teams in these non-traditional markets. So I look at front offices and I like those 3 or 4 front offices.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, you're going to start seeing a transition from like a power 3 team to more depth and skill players, like matchups. You can go big or small, and you look at Boston, they could go both ways. And you know, when they see Dallas was tired and they're lagging, they go small and they just run them off the floor. I mean, their defense was phenomenal. Jaylen Brown played some of the best defense against Luka that I've seen thus far.
Derek White, absolutely the case. Those guys,
you know what I'm saying? Just all over the place. So I think you're going to start to see that formulate into transitioning some of these other teams into that, because let's face it, I mean, when you're getting beat up and you're running the floor like that, there was no depth on Dallas, I mean, whatsoever. And then you can get, you know, a hurt Porzingis pops in for 20 his first game off the bench. It's just, you can't beat that when you just keep throwing waves of guys.
Your big man for Dallas is Lively, who's 19. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
And they
play big all the time, you know.
They got Gafford and Lively, but you know they're 7 foot, 230-pound dudes, and that doesn't work anymore. And you've got to be able to stretch. And Al Horford, my buddy was asking me, I thought he was dead, and he can still get in there, but he can stretch the defense. And
he's 30. Yeah, he can shoot threes. He can take it to the rim, and then you got Derek White challenging Lively at the rim and blocking him. You know, it's just. The guys just wanted it more, and you could tell, and they had so much depth, you just couldn't overcome that.
Raj, hot fire question to you. Brad Stevens, 2 runners-up from Butler, an Eastern Conference Finals, I think at least one, now a championship as an executive. Basketball Hall of Fame yet?
If you look –
body of work and –
absolutely. I mean, if you look at the nature of those different positions, what he's done, what he took over in Boston and how quickly he brought them and what he did with this team. And then he has a coach that gets fired for inappropriate conduct and brings them back and orchestrates Porzingis and Holiday. just sheer brilliance. And my final thoughts are going to be about another man that represents sheer brilliance, and Jerry West.
Yeah.
But yes, what he's done is amazing.
And he brought in the right coach for those players. And he's almost a throwback like a Larry Brown, just teaches them the right way. They play on both sides of the court. So, kudos to him.
A few more guys, Sam Presti, who we've heard of. I think it was with the Spurs for a long time, the OKC general manager. Don't forget when he gave up Paul George, he got the Clippers Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which was my dark horse for MVP in Vegas, and I lost money. But they're young. They've got the 12th pick in this year's draft from Houston. They've traded a few others, but they're one or two guys away. Holmgren, Williams, Dort, they play D from being right there.
If Dalton Connect falls to 12, look out.
Yeah,
he's going to be a Piston.
Just lights
out. There's already talks here that connects the guy that people want.
What pick do they have?
That would be a shame.
Yeah. But that would be a shame. But I'll be a Pistons fan though.
Well, the Knicks
they got a new GM, Tragan Landon.
Oh yeah, dude, the Alaskan assassin. He's a good friend of my buddy's. Brilliant guy. But yeah, in high school he was named the Alaskan assassin. Went to Duke. And just never missed a shot in high school. It was actually crazy. But finally, a couple other teams I'll name. I don't know what the Knicks can do. They brilliantly went out and got Anunoby from Toronto, but Randall will be back. And Brogdon became a legit top 5 superstar. And the Pacers, Halliburton is a top 5 superstar. And you got Siakam, a lot of youth to play with. So the future seems bright.
Siakam's a free agent, though, right?
What's that?
Siakam's a free agent, isn't he?
I believe so, yes.
But all indications he's going to stay in Indiana.
Yeah, at this point in his career, and he already got a ring, I would stay. But, yeah, that's enough NBA.
That might be the longest we talked NBA in, maybe in reckless speculation history.
And I didn't even mention my team. You did, so – I don't have the energy to mention my shitty team. Genie Bus is death. But let's move on to golf, man. I'm just gonna get right into it. How did DeChambeau do what he did? We're gonna go with Chain first. Were there any particular hole or shot? Was there a moment where you were just like, oh, he's just next level right now, no chance? Or was it a combination of Rory just going full Van de Velde and just missing 3 par putts or under 2 or 3 under 4 feet late? Like, what the fuck happened?
So Rory lost that for sure. He led the field in driving all week and really started hot out the gate on his 4th round. And he was 2 shots up at one point. And then, those pressure putts, that's why they're not gimmies. That's why you have to putt those in that setting. But also, I'd like to talk a little bit about DeChambeau's luck. He only hit 4 of 14 fairways.
Really?
And he was hitting out of the hay all day, but his recovery was incredible. But I'll sum it up with this. His shot on 18 out of that bunker, a 50, 60-yard bunker shot, that is the absolute hardest shot in golf, especially when you can't go over the green. It was incredible. That'll go down as one of the greatest shots in history, and you'll see that replayed on U.S. Open wins. That was incredible, and he rose to the occasion where, all Rory had to do is make that 4-foot putt on 18 and they would have been in a playoff. But Bryson, and he was looking like it was going to go to a playoff. He hit it over in the weeds to the left. He had to punch out into that bunker and then got up and down. That was just incredible. It was well-deserved. But typical U.S. Open, hard as hell. And, you get a couple of the guys on the leaderboard that are big names. So.
did Rob, it's been 10 years since Rory won a major. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Could you see that on his face after DeChambeau hit that shot? Was I the only one that when I watched, I was like, I didn't see the same guy. Like none of that would affect him whatsoever in years past. And I don't play the game enough to know if someone's pressing or whatnot, but it didn't look like him. A normally gracious Rory sticks around and owns up to things and congratulates. He took off. Then he goes to Twitter and says, I'm going to take some time off to collect my head. Like, what the hell happened? It was like a different guy.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to unpack there. Starting off, this weekend was why the U.S. Open is my favorite golf tournament because they struggle and you see them, get behind the haystacks and it's like, goodness, how do you get out of that? And then the small landing spots on the greens, it was just impossible. I seriously don't think I could have broken 200 on it. But enough about me and my likes and dislikes. I think there was 10 years of frustration. I think it was also how hard that course is, and you missed two, not gimmies like Brandon said, but very makeable putts for a guy of his caliber. And you have the LIV PGA Tour dynamics, who you lost to, all this kind of going on your head and watching it. And just, he had to be thinking of those two putts. And I mean, I'm sure they think about every shot, but those two easy putts, you're in a playoff and it's head to head. What happens? And it's got to be hard to get that close and come up that short on that circumstances. Yes, I agree. Bryson, that's an amazing shot. And it should have been that shot to force the playoff, not for the win. And that's just got to sting.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree, dude.
Were you surprised, Rob, about the reception that Bryson received? Because it's sort of like now he goes back to live relative oblivion until the next major. And, with Team USA coming up in Paris, this is a guy that hits one of the most iconic shots in history of the U.S. Open and starts a USA chant, but is left off of Team USA. And I'd be hard-pressed not to think there's live politics involved, right? Brandon, if that's the case.
It's not.
They're not?
Well, indirectly.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rob. You were asked the question.
I mean, both of you, honestly.
I just think people are tired of talking about it. And at this point, it is like, these are two children, like, stop fighting and figure it out. And now I just like who I like as a golfer. Like it's no different than politics, right? Like you get tired of talking about the same shit and everyone just moves on. And like, hey, I want to see, I don't tune in to golf or to football or anything else. Like even like the kneeling for the anthem, like either you extremely care or you're just tired of it. And I think the majority of the world gets tired of stuff before they stay in rate. People get angry quickly, but they don't get angry long. And so that we kind of moved on.
Yeah. This isn't even a beef between PGA and LIV. It has nothing to do with that. Because the standard of how you select an Olympic team is anyone in the top 10 is eligible, and you can only have 4 players from your country. Or anyone in the top 15 is eligible, and you can only have 4 players from your country. So the top 4 players, Scheffler?
OWGR though, right? Like the official world.
Yeah, it has to be the world golf rankings. And because the PGA and LIV haven't worked out their stuff yet.
Okay.
So any LIV tour that DeChambeau is on doesn't count towards the rankings, but he is 10th in the rankings. So he was eligible. He was just not in the top 4 that made it. So it's unfortunate, but there was no one that like picked or hand selected these players.
Who did make it after Scheffler?
But
Scheffler, Wyndham Clark, Morikawa, and Schauffele.
Xander, yeah. But isn't it the case that they don't receive the WR World Ranking OW
They don't
points for live events?
Correct. They don't recognize that because it's only 54 holes. So that's the problem they're running into right now.
That's a big problem. I mean,
it is. Well, and here's the thing:
like, is Captain America right now? We want to see him out there.
Absolutely. Well, and Dan Rappaport made a great point. I was watching some of his clips earlier. He said, "Why don't we do? All right. So it is the top 15. Take the top 15 American guys and let them play in a playoff. Like one weekend, 36 holes, and the top 4 make it. And it's like, who's playing hot? Because Wyndham Clark, he played great last year, and at the end of last year, that's why he's got all his points. But he's been sucking this year. Like, he's missing cuts. Like, you don't want to throw that out there. I love that.
The Olympic team.
Yeah, and you don't get paid for it. It's like, how bad do you want it? Do you really want to be on the Olympic team? Not just because of your status from last year when you're golf is fickle like that. Like, one day you'll come out and you'll shoot lights out. That's what's so great about the pros. I mean, they're consistently shooting lights out in 4 days, which is incredible. But
I know
you do it one day, you do it.
I'm in a little slump myself right now, but I'm sure
Robbie's been in an 18-year golfing slump. So he's going to turn it around now.
Yeah. I'm just saying, dude, we're America, right? We got the biggest, the strongest, the dude that hits it the farthest. He gets fired up. He'll pound a beer. He'll be holding the flag, man. I mean, he's a golf personality that transcends the sport. I mean, he'll be hanging out with freaking LeBron out there. The dude is awesome. He's Captain America. And I think it's a total bummer. And even more so, he doesn't play the media game. He said it sucked that he's off. And I love that, man. I love this dude. And I think it's just a shame that this is the ultimate consideration. And I understand, but we knew there'd be ramifications, right?
Right. And he knew that too. And that's what he said. He's like, hopefully they'll figure it out sooner than later. But here's the thing. When Bryson was on the PGA Tour, he was kind of hated. He was just a weird guy. It wasn't interacting with the fans. He was trying to make a name he was just doing everything weird. But the live has been the best thing for him. Now he's started his own YouTube channel, and he's like doing all this other stuff that he wasn't allowed to do necessarily. And he's very interactive with fans. And
the irony, dude, he was like Happy Gilmore entertaining, going with people, firing up the crowd. Like, he goes to live in like Saudi Arabia, and now like he was everybody's best friend. I swear he was doing beer bongs with some topless chick on 16. Isn't that funny the way that works out, though? I mean,
it is. And guess who will be here this weekend at my home course? Bryson DeChambeau.
Uh-oh. What's going on at your home course?
He's already here. The Live Tour is here at my course this week. So they are practice rounds ramped up today. There's a huge welcome for DeChambeau and all his team and everything. So that I sent you guys a little Instagram on that.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one that didn't check the Instagram link, Brandon.
As course champion for something, do you get to go there and hang out and see them and get special seats or some shit? Or
well, we used to with the Corn Ferry, but they did give us 2 free ground passes. So woohoo.
Which means for those of us that are golf illiterate, when it comes to attendance,
I have to walk around on the ground. We had the option to buy.
Thank you for clarifying.
We had the option to buy the other sections, but their discounts were offensive. So we did not participate. But
$30,000 per month.
Plus, typically when tournaments come here, and even in the Corn Ferry and Pass, they have big tents for us and all that stuff. I'm a guy, I enjoy golf so much. I want to follow these guys. So I walk around with them. Now, Liv's going to be a whole different animal because I compare Liv to the WWE of golf. Like, it's nothing but a big party. It's a big entertainment factor. I mean, they ordered 200 speakers for our course to put all over the course. Like,
They wear shorts.
There's music playing, and they do a shotgun.
Like the 16th,
the shotgun is what's crazy. So everyone's playing at the same time. So you can just either stay at a hole and see everyone come through. But I'm going to pick my pairings and walk and follow them. So I would do that anyway. So thank you, Escalante, for the 2 ground passes.
Thank you, Escalante. Final question.
Can you see it? Can you see it from your back deck or anything like that?
No, I'm a little further. I'm down in the lower end housing in the back there.
Lower end housing. You makes it sound like a government funded project. Last question for you. I've seen this up there when it comes to Rory with Adam Scott in 2012, Dustin Johnson 2010, Norman in 96, Van de Velde in 99. Does 2024 Rory belong in that biggest choke job conversation when it comes to majors?
Unfortunately, I think it does. I think he's going to win again for sure. I mean, but to miss 1 under pressure, I get that. But 2, I mean, it starts to become a pattern. And hey, I've been there. But I'm also an amateur and I don't play golf for a living. But it can get in your head, man. And you can miss these putts that you've hit. I mean, Rory's probably hit 1 million of those in his lifetime.
How much of his personal life going on is at play here? Because news came out that he's reconciling with his wife at a day or two after people said that he was seen out with the CBS commentator. Amanda, whatever her name is. So
I think they were stirring. I think they were stirring a lot of stuff up there. I don't think so because he was going through this divorce with his wife, and then he won a tournament, right? So I don't necessarily think that pulls away from his focus. And he was determined to win this, and he was right there. Like I said, he started out of the gate hot. He was making huge putts, but that's the thing too. I mean, you can take one of those misses in his make on the 4-footer. You know, it's tit for tat there. I mean, he drained some big putts for saves and birdies that got him in that position. So, you know, if he didn't make those, he would have never even been there. So yeah, I mean, choke, that's a harsh word. It was a letdown. I'll put it that way. It was a letdown.
So he didn't go full Van de Velde is what you're saying? No.
I think he could come back and win the Open next month, you know. I could definitely see that happen. And he'll be up there in the favorites for sure.
He could, but we've been saying that for 10 years. So
it's true.
I guess we shall see. I appreciate the contribution. That was an interesting weekend, man, of golf. When for me right now, there's not much interesting going on, especially when the Celtics are playing in something of significance. Because fuck them, excuse my language. But moving on, dude,
family friendly.
To Rob and I, our new favorite topic, and Tom as well, the WNBA. If people didn't see this past weekend's game between the Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever, i.e. Angel Reese and Caitlyn Clark, had the highest ratings of any WNBA game over the last 23 years. Rob, is the WNBA actively, and whether that means on the court or off it, making this, you know, for those of us that were alive, remembering Magic versus Bird, but it was friendlier with Converse, and, you know, they played each other in the 1979 NCAA championship. It was a natural rivalry, but is the WNBA not only milking this, but actively instigating or promoting this rivalry, knowing full well the effect it's having?
So 2 comparisons go to mind in my lifetime. and in different segments, but I think it's comparable. I think my first thought was when all of this attention came on a white girl playing basketball. And the attention that it got reminded me of when Tiger Woods first broke onto the PGA Tour. There was some hatred, there was some he's not welcome, and then they started realizing what the paychecks started looking like as more eyes came onto the fold. And all of a sudden, while still, he's the competitive guy, but Caitlyn Clark, yeah, the old people, they're gonna hate on her. There's gonna be some kind of just negative and just over attention on her. But that's what it was like when Tiger started. And then the other thing, to go back to a white person in a black industry, kind of reminds me when Eminem broke into the rap scene. Like, this is just something different, and this is this showy white girl. And now I know you have Diana Taurasi who was there, and there's more white girls, but it seems that there is a draw of race that makes this a little controversial, even though a white girl from Iowa isn't that controversial at all. But it's just the juxtaposition that they find themselves in, and ratings are going to go through the roof. And then, yes, the third analogy is the bird magic. Can we get that as the WNBA grows? And I'll tell you what, for me personally, the WNBA has been more entertaining so far than the NBA playoffs were. And so that's both a good thing for the NBA corporate, and also a troubling thing at the same time.
Now, Tom, we're a very open-minded show, and I'm not insinuating anybody that doesn't agree with us is not open-minded per se. But Rob and I both believe that former attorney and just button pusher idiot that tries to get headlines, and unfortunately I'm promulgating this, Clay Travis, who's just a total fucking dildo that says shit just to get, like I said, clicks. And I mean, it's embarrassing, but his statement was that, let me find it real quick, that essentially that Caitlyn Clark is being targeted, not only because of race, but because of the fact that she's a victim of discrimination against white heterosexual women in a black lesbian league after Clark received a flagrant foul one from Sky Guard Kennedy Carter.
That is, wow, clickbait.
How do you begin to approach that without giving credence to the idiocy there?
Well, first off, anything that Clay Travis says, anything that comes out of his mouth is clickbait. He is an extremely far right media member. We've spoken about him in previous shows in regards to his kind of employment with Fox College football. But anyways,
he wasn't initially, though. That's the funny thing. He just sold his soul.
Yeah, he's jumped on the bandwagon of somehow the white race is being taken over, and which is complete lunacy. Pretty much anything that he says, it's the opposite of the truth. I think in reality is Caitlyn Clark is the number one reason why ratings are the way they are. The number one reason why games are selling out. The number one reason why there's talks of expansion in the WNBA. Now, is it a white thing? Is it a black thing? I'm not even going to begin to speculate, because Caitlyn Clark could be from the streets of Chicago. she could be a black girl. And if she did the same thing, it doesn't matter. It's spectacular. I think it goes back to 2 years ago with Angel Reese. And she's got some kind of a bone to pick with her. And the way that she was handled after she lost, the poor me, when you want to be the villain, but then you don't want to be the villain. Now you want to be the villain again. I mean, that is kind of nonsensical. But the reality is, Caitlyn Clark's been the reason why. Has she wowed people? Probably not. And don't forget that they're less than a month removed from the college basketball season.
Thank you.
When the NBA starts. And then here's another thing I heard today. There's a reason why it's a summer league, because most of these women go overseas to play professionally during the regular NBA months. That's where they make all their money.
Make twice as much money.
That's why the WNBA players are only making at high scale 80 to 100. But this is an example of the media, an extreme side. It doesn't matter left or right, whatever. He's kind of shown his true colors, pardon the pun, where he stands. So any way he can try and pull some of that nonsense, some of that just gross talk into the fray and get other people talking about it, other conspiracy theorists talk about it, he's going to do that, and it works. That's the society we live in today. I mean, from sports to politics, that's the way it goes. My problem that I have with this is you talked about Bird and Magic, kind of that comparison. Yeah, I could see that. You have two marquee names that are really good that could possibly, take their teams, far. But I think not hearing really anything from the league, and then not really seeing the Fever teammates stick up for her. That's the thing that kind of baffles me. And I'll go back to my bad boys and even the going to work Pistons in 2004. If somebody would have blatantly hit Chauncey Billups or Isaiah Thomas with a clothesline, they wouldn't have played the rest of that game. Their teammates would have come to their defense and would have taken them out of the game. No question about it. That was such a blatant foul. She was not going for the ball. She was 2 feet from the ball. She knew what she was doing. Why she wasn't planted on the court is beyond me, and that's the big question I have. Are her teammates kind of looking at her in a different light? And I don't know. I think it's shameful. I think it's a bad look for the WNBA. When the iron is hot, we should be promoting these big players. And the only news that we see is this flagrant foul that she gets. And it's just wrong. And the league needs to step in and fix it before people say, you know what? I'm not watching anymore.
I've got two more questions. I will say this. Caitlyn Clark is a brilliant player, much like Steph Curry. And that's going to be my comparison and question for Brandon. But, there was a foul call where she, of course, getting in the lane, she hooks an arm when she has the ball, which is smart, get away with it. Guys like John Stockton, the greats, were always what people call dirty, but they were just smart. They knew what angles the refs were looking at them at. And then one of the Sky players was trying to hold her up. And, of course, she's acting a bit, which is standard in basketball. But there is
LeBron James.
Absolutely. And there's certainly and I understand it, and they're sort of a victim of circumstance when it comes to that. And kudos to Caitlyn Clark for kind of playing off that in a way. But at the same token, she doesn't really act like a victim, but there is kind of a mopey, woe is me, people on Twitter, or on X, like, I worry about her. She's so skinny. And, shut the fuck up.
She's fine.
Brandon, my theory about Caitlyn Clark and why she's so likable is a Steph Curry-esque syndrome in that, when we watch Michael Jordan, it's not something that we can go out and do tomorrow. But there is an element to me of, oh, man, I can pull up from 30 feet. Doesn't matter who's near me and shoot if I shot 1,000 shots per game. As a purist, Steph Curry to me kind of made kids dribble between their legs for no reason and shoot from 80 feet, which drives me nuts. But
changed the whole nature of the game. Yeah.
It changed everything, and I firmly believe that some of Caitlyn's appeal is the relatability, and not based upon race, but based upon game.
100%.
Am I right or am I wrong?
No, you're 100% right. 100% right. And if you just look, I mean, if you look at her press conferences after, she gets, she tries to get baited into these questions on like, oh, the rival, they're bringing, and she's like, that's just basketball. I don't care, whatever. She answers really well. She doesn't hate on anybody. There's no disrespect towards anybody. She's like, no, that's great. It was a great play. Just got caught up, and I'm sure she wasn't trying to do a flagrant, blah, blah, blah. I was just thinking about making these 2 free throws with nobody around me. I've never had to do that before. Well, stuff like that. The way she handles herself and carries herself. And yeah, I mean, is there somewhat of an attack on her for whatever reason? I have no idea. For the first time ever, they have chartered planes now, and their pay's going up, like ratings are up. Like, this is good for everyone. I don't get the hate there. Unless it's just, media driven, which, maybe some people just can't handle their comments as well as she does.
Can you understand, though, other players, like, just at least thinking, I've been busting my ass, blood, sweat, and tears, playing hurt, doing all these things, and suddenly this is the case because of whatever they may think. But, I mean, can you understand the frustration, at least from other players?
I do, but you also have to, tip your cap to someone that's better than you. And that is, the whole thing is entertainment, right? And if you're the entertainer and you're getting more fans, that's good for everyone. That means, the sixth woman on the bench is going to make a pay raise as well. It's good for the game. It's good for it. We've watched more NBA. We've talked about more WNBA than ever.
Well, and to go back to Tom's point, Tom, I want to just see if you agree or disagree, because I've heard this a lot about, her teammates aren't coming to her defense, but you got to put yourself in their shoes, right? So they make $100,000 is a lot of money no matter what you do. But if I walk out on a court and I shove somebody who just pushed my teammate, if I get fined $10,000 for that, that's 10% of my income. It's not like NBA players where, hey, $10,000 is a night at the strip club or at dinner or whatever. I mean, that's real money to the girls, and so
for sure.
That's
a valid
point. I can see where you're coming from, but I mean,
think that's part of it where they can't risk, like, hey, I got a family.
You can retaliate, and not get fined. You can get in her face or chest bump and just say, hey, you know what? We're not going to play like that. Don't do that again. And just I'm watching the replay.
No. I definitely think there's something. I don't think you're wrong. I'm just thinking, like, I think there's an ulterior motive that is not necessarily 100% there, but it has got to be in play, because that's a real thing. Is if there's a fight breaks out,
sure,
then everyone could get fined.
I think women are just wired a little different than men too. I do. I just think that guys usually take their boys back quicker than girls would do in situations like that. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but.
And I think Angel Reese is very smart, and she's an Instagram individual who knows how to get views and clicks. And I think she loves to bait, things, whether it be the one sleeve on her leg, just going back to this, like she knows what she's doing. She's a brilliant girl. And, do you call that a flagrant there?
I thought it was Angel Reese that hit her. Right?
That's why I thought I said Angel Reese.
Yeah, it was her.
Yeah. Angel Reese hit her right here. Right here.
Is that a super flagrant? I don't think so. But, she is shielding the ball.
No, to me, that's flagrant one all
She
day
follows-
long.
No,
She wound up.
It's both. It's a play on the ball, and if you do that and you miss, you hit the head. It's a flagrant one. Like,
which is why it's one,
both.
not a two, because she
Yeah.
didn't have the malicious
Right.
intent. But I also think Angel Reese knows damn well that clip has gotten 18 billion views, and she knows exactly what she's doing, and the game is all for it. Rob, as the attorney, my last question about the WNBA is legal in nature, and the WNBA has decided to interview the Las Vegas Tourism Board chief. And the reason why is that the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority had essentially determined that basically the WNBA is looking to see if the Vegas Tourism Board giving each Las Vegas Aces player $100,000 violated salary cap or circumvented some sort of rules. Essentially it's a sponsorship. I don't know if it's a thank you. It was 5 Aces players in particular. They are by far the best team in the league. They sell out every game.
And they have the Rookie of the Year, Kate Martin, on their team.
And they have the Rookie of the Year as well, yes.
I would be interested to see how that argument is any different than Nike giving people a $100,000 deal to wear Nikes or have a Nike commercial.
But just being based upon a residence here, like Las Vegas, it's Vegas, right? So tourism is one thing. Nashville is another city that probably deserves multiple sports at this point.
I mean, that's like Tootsie saying we'll sponsor the NASCAR driver if they live in Nashville. I mean, that's their criteria for sponsorship.
Suarez lives in Nashville?
No, well, no, that was just a hypothetical.
Okay.
But I mean,
The 99 car.
I think that has all kinds of violations of the First Amendment, to be honest.
And I'd love for you to expand upon that further, but we probably won't have an hour.
That may be a whole other sideshow.
Exactly.
I was going to say.
Exactly. But
We could bring Michelle on and have her.
Yeah.
Oh, Rob can take it, no problem, without any help. That's for sure. We'll be here tomorrow. But one thing I found interesting, the CEO and president of basically the tourism board stated that we made a commitment to the players and we're going to follow through on that. We have not done anything wrong. The players have every right to sign a sponsorship agreement.
Yeah.
This is a legitimate sponsorship agreement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, like why couldn't whoever plays for the Aces say I'm Caesars, I'm doing commercials for Caesars, like
sign for Waffle House if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't
This is
matter.
coming from the tourism board. Does it affect? Hey, I'm going to go. I don't think that Indianapolis Tourism Board is paying girls $100,000 extra. Does this influence free agency?
Under Armour doesn't have as much money as Nike. I don't see
I don't see the complaint there.
Yeah, I don't see how they can stop that.
I agree entirely. The WNBA legally believed there was a chance that, again, impermissible benefits, ironically enough, NIL, college, we talk about all that shit, but basically circumventing the salary cap rules, which suck as it is.
Yeah, hey, and this would be my legal advice to the WNBA. Be careful what you wish for and what battles you pick. See Exhibit A, NCAA.
Exactly.
Don't bark up a tree, or don't catch a car, or don't chase the tire of a car you don't want to catch.
There you go. That's the one you were looking for, and you were 100% spot on.
I had a squirrel up a tree analogy, but just lost it.
Dogs and trees and cars and squirrels, we all get your point. Inevitably. But finally, we can't, and it's great to be back. We haven't missed a beat. Love hearing from you guys. When I host, I shut the fuck up more, theoretically, which is good. But exactly. You're welcome, America. I get to drink more. But we got to talk football, something about football. And my thought was looking into, position group analysis, someplace where, this week T. Higgins signed, a tender, or whatever the word is. There's been a lot of rookies drafted, but we wanted to look at wide receiver units across the board, including tight end.
Wonder why we included the tight end.
Because I'm a Raider fan and we have 2 of them, so fuck you.
Mr. Brock Bowers.
I'm on Raw, and yeah, exactly. And Laporta and Jamison Williams, but we could also include the running back when the Niners, you had McCaffrey. But no, you know what I want to do actually quickly is instead of each naming a top 5, we're going to go around the horn up to number 12. And we're each going to draft based upon the receiving core, and you get to say your guys. Are we prepared for that?
Sure.
Yeah, Giddy.
How about this? I'm going to start with you, Tom. And you cannot say the Detroit Lions.
Oh, okay.
Who has the best receiving core in the National Football League, including tight end?
I think the Houston Texans right now. Getting Diggs makes Nico Collins, who just got his payday, and Tank Dell, who was on his way to an outstanding rookie season. I think him coming in makes them better. And don't forget, they have one of the most underrated tight ends in the NFL in Dalton Schultz. So can C.J. Stroud replicate what he did last year? I don't see any indication why he can't. They got better at running back. So I just think they're young, they're fast, and getting Diggs when he comes into a new situation, he's almost like a rejuvenated player. I think right now they're probably the most solid, and that's barring Tank Dell comes back from that injury. So I think they're the most complete receiver room in the NFL.
And don't forget about Robert Woods.
Yeah,
Trojan
USC.
Gray.
Bobby Trees.
Yeah.
Trees.
Exactly. Thank you very much. He actually did a great job for a really shitty Titans team.
He did.
Real quick, Raj, we got a question here, and I think this definitely has Robbie's interest. JP checking in. Are you guys buying the new NCAA football game? Robbie?
Not only am I buying it, I will be playing anyone and everyone for $100 a game, PS5. It's my birthday present, and it's 10 or 12 years in the making. Yes, as soon as I get back from Italy, it will be nonstop. All my focus.
Nice name drop, Italy. I think the last college game I played was Bill Walsh college football on Genesis, and it was fucking dope. But I'm debating.
Gamer coming soon. Yeah.
Right now, MLB The Show. But yeah, that's
Hey Tom, do you have an extra room for JP to stay in when I take all his money?
He doesn't live too far from me.
Asking for a friend.
Brandon and I know what that means, and we both are going heavy on JP. Instead of the draft aspect, let me ask this question. Brandon, the Titans receiver room suddenly got pretty damn good. I think they overpaid for Calvin Ridley, but DeAndre Hopkins, who people mistakenly believe is over the hill, but if you look at his numbers, they're insane. They got Tyler Boyd. That they've got NWI. I can never say his name. Westbrook Ahini, Okonkwo, and of course their potential sub for AJ Brown and Treylon Burks. Is that the second best receiving core in that crappy division? And what do you think of that? Is that enough to save Will Levis this coming season?
I think it is the second best in our division in the South. And I toyed back and forth with it when we were trying to do the top 5, and I just couldn't get there in the top 5. I was a little hesitant on Chig. I love Chig. He started out hot. He's got a ton of talent, but I think the situation just didn't help him. Now, kind of shoring up the offensive line a little bit. Now we'll see what Will Levis can do. Now we know he's got a cannon, and his seems to be more accurate than Tannehill was. So I am very excited to see this because this is the best, I mean, legit wide receiving room that we've had maybe since
AJ Brown and anybody.
No, like Derek Mason.
No, Derek Mason and Bennett and
and then Whitecheck.
Whitecheck. Are we
Whitecheck.
going back to the Music City Miracle days?
Yeah.
dude. I mean, that's
It was
how long
outside.
it's been. That's how long it's been. So I'm excited. Yeah. So you say we overpaid for Calvin. We did. But
Kevin
we also
Dodson
had
was on that team too.
we also had the most cap space than anybody, and we could afford to overpay and solidify that position. So
You
I'm
needed
okay
a guy
with
that
it.
could stretch the defense big time.
Yeah, and we were just too little, too late with AJ Brown. You know, I would have loved, but he wanted to get paid too, and it was well deserved. But he's a dog. I love AJ Brown. He's a Anquan Bolden kind of deal, you know, and those are generational talents, and we just didn't have the funds to keep him or the brains up top to figure out how to keep him. So that I think all that just kind of sucks. And I was devastated on that trade, and there was a live show reaction on that we had. But no, I'm excited, man. I think we got a lot of upside potential now. I mean, we got a tall mountain to climb with the Texans. CJ Stroud is that dude, and I don't know if Levis is yet.
I'm going to go to Tom next. Tom, I think the best young receiving core was in your division.
Blasphemy is that on the screen?
It was not illegal.
Yeah.
What was that?
He said Wycheck threw an illegal forward pass.
Oh,
it was an illegal pass. Just
As
saying.
a Trojan, Rob Johnson was the quarterback on the other team, but it's very fitting that Rob Johnson lost on the final play of the game.
Rest in peace, Frank Wycheck.
Absolutely. Tom, but I was saying in your division, I think the best young receiving core in the NFL exists, and I don't think it's the Detroit Lions. Who am I thinking of, and do you agree with me?
Well, you're probably thinking of the Packers.
I am.
Christian
Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, who showed a lot, and Luke Musk.
Reed came on late, especially when Watson was injured throughout the second half of the season. But I think it all weighs on Jordan Love. Jordan Love got confident. That team started going. You have to wonder about his off season, his contracts talk and all that. He's missed camp. So will that come into play? But on paper, yeah, I think Green Bay, 2-3 years ago when they started really investing in the receiver position, and it's starting to take fruition. So I think the NFC North is quietly one of the better divisions in football. I will preach my one pride all day long. But I think the Bears, like JP said, they bring in Keenan Allen, and they draft
nothing.
Rome Odunze, who I think was the best receiver in that draft class.
Agreed.
And DJ Moore is a hell of a possession receiver.
Justin Fields had a relationship with DJ Moore, who fantasy-wise murders me every year. He can have a relationship with anyone, but they got Allen for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Odunze, who, like you said, I mean, I don't think there's a better receiver in the draft. And then, their tight end, and you know who that is, a guy that came out of nowhere and Komet. And I agree.
Yeah.
I was going to ask my next question, are they now a top 3 NFL receiving core?
I don't know if they're 3. I think they're top 10, because with Keenan Allen comes the injury potential. You're playing in Chicago. Weather could come into play. And then, there is the unknown with Odunze, and there is the unknown with Caleb. So I think the fact that we haven't seen it yet together, there will be those question marks. But the potential to be a top 10, I would say probably so. I do.
Mm-hmm.
Is my Los Angeles bias correct, Rob? Or is it complete bias, even though I don't even like this team that much, in saying that the Rams with Puka, Cooper Kupp, DeMarcus Robinson, who late in the year came on and was sensational, Tutu Atwell, and Tyler Higbee have the best overall receiving core in the NFL.
You're not wrong. They
So
are
what
up
am I?
there.
I feel like there's a but there. Tim says right there, the Texans, once you get in Diggs, Collins, Dell, if they're all healthy, Schultz, totally agree they're right there.
No, the Rams.
Diggs, though, we don't know what you're getting in the locker room personally, but sorry, continue.
The Rams are loaded. They've got talent on all they're 4 or 5 deep. But the answer to the question, it's Kansas City. They have the best receiving group because they have the best quarterback throwing them the ball. And until that changes, give me them, and I'll take my Super Bowls.
I don't know how they got Xavier Worthy on top of everything.
Yeah.
It was sensational at Texas. Now, Rashee Rice, just like Isaiah Buggs, a knucklehead. We don't know what's going to happen there.
Arrested again the other day, by the way.
Yeah.
Now we know why. Now we know why the Lions got rid of him. Caught him.
And Kadarius Toney's a non-factor on that. Can we all agree on that?
Yeah, man.
Is he even with them
Justin
anymore?
Watson all day.
Is he still on the team, Tony?
He is until he drops every pass in camp. And what about? I'm going to say a couple more, and you guys tell me if they're top 10. Brandon, the Seahawks. DK, Tyler, your boy, Jackson Smith, Noah Fant. Top 10?
Lockett's getting a little old. I'm not a Noah Fant fan. Possibly. They're right on the cusp of the top 10. They could be like number 12 if I really dug deep and went through it. But
yeah, dude, none of this fence bullshit. I want to hear it, and I like.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not top 10.
Rob, the Eagles, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, CJ Uzomah, or the Dolphins with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, now OBJ, and Jonnu Smith.
It's like you have AI tracking my eyes. Those are the exact two ones I was about to comment on about how stacked they both are.
Who would you take? Gun to your head.
Oh, I'm going Miami.
Is that because you're putting yourself there? You'd rather live there than shitty ass Philadelphia? Or
Let me ask you this: if you switch quarterbacks, does it matter?
Probably. But if this was just a yes or no question, more or less.
I'll take
one or the other. Tom, you the same. Brandon, you the same. Quickly. Not like Rob and I. Who would you take?
Dolphins.
Between Miami and who?
Philly. AJ, Devonta, another Alabama guy, Goddard, and CJ Uzomah.
Man, that's a tough one because you have speed with power with AJ Brown, and as kind of little as Devontae Smith is, he's strong and he's got great hands. So that's a tough one. I going up and getting the ball, you can throw it downfield with Tyreek, but if you need to make a big play at the back of the end zone, a la Megatron, I think AJ Brown is probably as close to that as you'll find. I'll give it to the Eagles by a smidgen, and it's because I don't trust the health of Hill and Waddle. They their speed sometimes gets them in trouble health wise, but I just think AJ Brown is kind of an X factor.
Agree entirely. I've kept the Niners and Tampa out of this. Debo, we don't know where Ayuk's going. Debo gets hurt. Juwan Jennings, Kittle, Mike Evans, Godwin, Cade Otton, just kind of aging, not as fun to talk about. My last question, if you guys had to pick one receiving core, and I'm taking the Bengals out of this because Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Jermaine Burton, even though Mike Gesicki is their tight end, a young receiving core. Give me one team that we have to watch out for in the upcoming year. And Rob, I think I know where you're going based upon a former Tennessee player. But do you guys have a core that we have not talked about yet that you're like, damn, dude, watch out for these guys?
For me,
I'm just going to steal the Giants right now with Malik Neighbors, who I thought was sensational, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, who played well, Jalen Hyatt, former Tennessee Vol, who was just absolutely sensational, and Daniel Bellinger, who doesn't do much, but everything he does do, he does pretty well.
I like that.
They could be absolutely like riveting, and we all know the Vikings have young guys, but there's kind of just Jefferson and Addison and then, Hawkinson. But I'm talking about a core.
I like the Jets. Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, if he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Lazard, Gibson.
Tyler Conklin.
With a healthy Aaron Rodgers.
As long as he's not all strung up on ayahuasca.
Let's not sleep on this, man. I think the Jets can be what they should have been last year.
I agree.
I'm going to go with the Browns. I think Amari Cooper really kind of embraced that number one role in Cleveland last year. They go get Jerry Jeudy, and David Njoku kind of separated himself. He finally decided to play good tight end position. He played real well for them this year. And Elijah Moore, Western Michigan, he's a good possession receiver. You need a big play. Like Brandon said with Aaron Rodgers, I think a lot of it weighs on Deshaun Watson. Did the Browns make a mistake by not bringing back the old man and letting him go to Indy? And they brought crab legs in, Jameson Williams, whatever his name is.
Winston.
Winston, that's right, crab legs for backup. But I think if Deshaun Watson kind of figures out how to play quarterback again, you have two receivers on each side that could become huge matchup problems for any defense. So, looking at potential, I do like what I see there in Cleveland, and I would love that for my dad.
Last two questions. I'm going straight to Tom. Number one, Tom, for my Raiders. I love what they have. They two tight end set had done very well. They did it with Waller. They did it with Foster Moreau from LSU. They kept getting hurt. Devontae Adams, Jacoby Meyer was sensational last year from the Patriots. Trey Tucker, a kid who can take, the top off the defense. Michael Gallup, the former Cowboy. Michael Mayer, sensational at Notre Dame, and Brock Bowers. Am I right in thinking, and I think Minshew, if you look at his numbers, they're better than Sunshine and than Lawrence since they both came in the league. Am I right in thinking this unit can excel, or is this just a time bomb and Devontae is going to want out by midseason?
I think Brock Bowers makes that team more dynamic. His ability, he's not your prototypical tight end. That's what Michael Mayer will be. Brock Bowers is going to be able to extend the field. They become kind of predictable with Devontae. Yeah, Devontae's going long. You know what to do. Now you can't just roll two safeties to that side, because I think Brock Bowers gives you that over-the-top ability.
It's a Kelsey effect, man.
Exactly. And there isn't a player in the NFL that can guard him. And I'm saying this as a rookie coming into the league. I just think he's that special. And draft night, I said it. I said I think the Raiders got the best deal in the draft by getting Brock Bowers. He's the most NFL ready right now, in my opinion. So I think with Brock Bowers and Gardner Minshew, he's weird as can be, and he's not the sexiest quarterback. He lives in an RV, but he can play, and he's an old school. He's an old school throwback kind of a quarterback. And I really think that he's going to be able to fire up those troops. And let's not, hide the fact that they brought Pierce back. They hired him as a head coach. You know, the ownership listened to the players. I think that's going to fire up a lot of them. Max Crosby, who's the best player in the NFL right now, I think, not named Patrick Mahomes. I think that whole team is going to be rejuvenated. So yeah, I think this is a receiver core that you're going to have to game plan for, and I think a lot of it again is because of Brock Bowers. So,
and they're not going to miss Josh Jacobs the way people think. Former Georgia running back Zamir White was sensational in the 4 games he was out. It's just going to be up to the offensive line whether Christian Wilkins can do his thing on the defensive line and whether the complete ass secondary can stop anyone. But enough of that. My last question for Tom before we go in, and just folks, no guns to our head. Don't write it down. Nobody put bets, but we are going to each of us is going to give our Super Bowl pick as of June 18th, 2024, in terms of who is in the game. I don't need to know who wins, but Tom, last question. The Lions, did their receiving core get better or worse now that it's
I think they got
it matter either way.
I think they got faster. There is a question mark over J-Mo. He hasn't played a full season yet. This will be his first year coming in where he's not A, hurt or B, suspended. I believe he can show up the NFC Championship game when he got that touchdown in the opening drive. There was no fear in him. So I do think you traded away, you let Josh Reynolds go, who was Goff's kind of security blanket, but you have Amon-Ra there and you have Sam Laporta there. So I think right now, did they get better? Yes, they got better. I think they got more athletic and the ability to, get a little bit more yard after catch plays where Josh Reynolds wasn't going to really break tackles. His speed wasn't going to wow you. He was a great receiver.
Didn't he drop a critical ball?
He dropped a huge 4th down. He dropped 2 passes in the NFC Championship game. But I don't think that's why they didn't re-sign him. I think the price tag was a little too high. But so I do think it is an upgrade, but it's TBD at this point.
Super Bowl picks. And here's the wrinkle that I'm going to throw out there because there are 2 clear-cut favorites, and they're both at plus 600 right now in Vegas. And that is the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. So you cannot pick either of those. All things considered, and I can go first if you guys like, who is going to be in the Super Bowl?
You want me to go first?
I'll go.
Oh,
go for it. Shane, go for it.
Since you took away my AFC, I'm going to throw a curveball there. And
I think we would all like those 2 teams in all likelihood. Well, not Tom, but
I'm going to go Texans, Jets.
Damn it. Well, they're in the same conference.
Brandon's realigning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
This is pro, not con. Can't make shit up.
Sorry. All right. Well, we'll do Texans Lions. I'm sorry.
Oh.
It's been a minute. Let's go Lions.
I like it.
I will go Baltimore, Lamar getting over the hump, and I think Philadelphia gets back. Over the Lions in a hard-fought, another NFC Championship game.
I was probably going to go there as well because I think when it comes to teams addressing needs, Philadelphia's first 2 picks in Mitchell and Cooper DeJean.
Derrick Henry's going to have a huge year in Baltimore.
Yeah, excellent selections. I'll go different eventually, but Tom,
we talked about him a minute ago. And I'm not just because I'm eating cornbread, drinking the Kool-Aid. I think the Lions saw what they needed in that NFC Championship game. They smelled victory at halftime, and they forgot to come out in the second half. And they made changes. They addressed their biggest need, and it was secondary. They loaded up at secondary. They're still the number one offensive line in the NFL. Jared Goff is one of the top 5 efficient quarterbacks. Your basic core of last year's team is still there. I think they get over the hump, and I like them playing Baltimore. I think the Ravens have a fantastic defense. And what did they need the most in the last year's playoff run? A running game. They addressed it by Derrick Henry. He's going to get rejuvenated playing on that team. And the way that offense is ran, I think it will definitely advantage Henry just because the fear of Lamar running the ball. I think that gives him a lot of opportunities. So Lions, Ravens, Super Bowl. The Lions avenged last year's drubbing. I think it was like 45-7. And the city of Detroit will never be the same.
Calm down, Tom. Calm down. Don't
forward down the field.
And, you know, we have to consider Baltimore, for example. I love Houston as well, but if you're playing in Baltimore in end of January, it's a little different than inside the Energy Dome, whatever, in Houston. But just for fun's sake, because it's June 18th, 2024, I'm also going to go with the Houston Texans, and I'm debating between the Los Angeles Rams because I love Kyron Williams, Stafford, the offensive core, and
Blake Corum.
They took defensive. They got Corum as well. They took some defensive hits, but you know, I think that's a division that they can definitely compete. And you know, I feel like Green Bay is ready to take the next step. There's a lot of youth, a lot of speed, and a lot of great places. And just watch out for those two teams. Are they my guaranteed locks? No, but I think those teams and Houston as well, as I said, those three. So I kind of thought it would be shorter, but once we got going, I found it interesting, and we definitely annihilated the receiving core discussion. So let's just get straight on in to bet your nuts, even though I don't even know what we can bet on right now, and then final words.
It's time for Bet Your Nuts.
All right, who wants to start?
I'll start. So I'm gonna start off with a little beef and then get to bet my nuts. I'll be brief on the beef. Caesar Sportsbook taking off manufacturer or NASCAR.
They all have
future.
They
break.
all have.
That's just bullshit, you cowards. But I'm gonna go. So they're in New Hampshire this weekend. Your typical oval track, and the Fords have been hot. Blaney's been hot. Logano's been hot. Both race for Team Penske. Throw in Allsix Cindric as a possible scenario. I'm going Team Penske, going back to back to back. And so, I like Team Penske. They'll probably be plus 400, plus 4 to 500. Bet them to win the race.
I'm going to go before Tom because I'm going to take the Detroit Tigers tomorrow in a matinee at plus 115 money line with my boy Tariq Scooball. I can never pronounce it right. 8-2, 2.2 ERA. The whip is at 0.9. Sensational. Third in baseball. I'm going to take him against the Braves, and plus I don't like the Braves. It's a noon game. It's one of those games where a team like Detroit, it's young, dumb, full of cum, as they say. That didn't sound right, but you know what I mean? They don't care what time they play. They're going to be ready to go. And nobody at home likes to play a 12-20 game. So give me the Detroit plus 15 money line tomorrow. Tom, Brandon, who's next?
Go ahead, Brandon.
I'll go. I'm going to go to golf. Shocker. We're going to go the Travelers at TPC Highland, I believe, in Connecticut. I'm going to give you a top 5 finish for Xander Schauffele. He won, I think, 2 years ago here. It's plus 162. He's been playing well right now. I like that. And then I'll throw in a couple long shots for winners. Ludwig Oberg, who's hot on the scene now, young kid, really, really good. He had a chance to win the U.S. Open until his double bogey, and then just the wheels fell off after that. But he's at plus 1,400 to win. And then Tony Finau, who was also right there, I think tied for third or fourth in the U.S. Open. He's at plus 3,000 to win. He plays well here as well. That's a pretty good one for a long shot win. Pretty good value.
Plus 3,000 is outstanding. All right, Tom, bring us home.
All right, I'm going to go out to New Hampshire here for the race Sunday. This guy has 6 of his last 10 races are top 10, one being a win at Texas. He's really starting to make a push. He is number 9, Chase Elliott. I like him plus 1,400 to win the race this Sunday at New Hampshire. So give me Chase Elliott, the probably most popular driver in NASCAR for reasons I'm not sure. I'm sure Robbie doesn't know either. But at Talladega, he got the loudest cheers. We'll just give
That's Team Hendricks if you're betting teams also. Just
yeah. Larson, there you go.
Yeah.
So,
always a safe bet, really.
I like him to come through.
Love it. All right, final words, boys. Tom, there we go. Tom,
it's been a while, but I still got it though.
We still end up with you last, generally, because you actually use like your heart and shit, and the rest of us don't. But I don't know if that's the case. I did have a remembrance today, so I can go last if you like, but I can't say it
absolutely
correctly as you do. So let's start with Rob. Final words.
Yeah, I guess final words for today's episode specifically. Usually I talk about big picture or something going on. Now I'm talking small picture. The 4 of us have been incredibly busy over this last month, and so it's good to be back, guys. It's good to get back in this routine, and we got the summer to get through, then football season. I'm looking forward to getting back in the studio, y'all. Getting it back up and running. We had our month siesta, and so happy to be back. And thanks for all y'all do.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that. That's essentially what I was going to say. It feels all new, and the novelties come back again. I'm excited to do this. I always enjoy it. Love talking with you guys, talking sports, listening to your takes and knowledge on everything, and even through the tough times. I mean, we sat and talked about just random stuff today. For quite some time. Just you can tell the excitement's there with all of us. So enjoyed seeing you guys and glad to be back.
Yep, for sure. It's it was each week came and went, and it was a little bit of a disappointment. But my schedule changed. I now work midnights, so I'm not home very often like I used to be. So that changes the game. But no excuses. We'll make it work the best we can possibly do it. But what I want to talk about this week is there's a court case going on that hasn't really gotten a whole lot of notoriety. And it's a court case that could cost the NFL a lot of money. And it's based upon the NFL Sunday ticket. There's a court case going around. There's a massive lawsuit going on, basically saying that the NFL violated their antitrust laws by inflating prices of the Sunday ticket and basically keeping it from the general population by only providing it through Sunday ticket from 1993 to 2022, which is remarkable. Yes, it cost DirecTV a lot, and it cost me a lot to have it every year, but
dude.
So they're in court. This case basically got thrown out 9 years ago, and they appealed, and it's finally come to fruition. So they're in court right now, and all indications are the NFL could possibly lose anywhere from $7 to $21 billion in this thing, just basically because they kind of cheated the American consumer by basically taking a CBS and Fox broadcast and just inflating the prices. But the one thing that irritates me the most about this whole situation, and let's face it, we all know the NFL's king. People are going to buy the Sunday ticket every year. They do. But Apple TV put a bid to have it in their service, and all they were going to have charge people was the price that they charged for their monthly rate. It was going to be $6.99. That's how much Apple TV costs a month. So can you imagine having the Sunday ticket for $6.99, part of the Apple TV package? And ESPN tried to make a push for it, and it was going to be whatever their yearly cost was to have the ticket. But the NFL went with the high bid of YouTube TV, and their price went way up. I think it was upwards of $500 to $600 to have their plan if you wanted their premium package that included the Red Zone channel. So interesting case coming up. They had the commissioner was on the stand here the last 2 days, and Jerry Jones was on the stand. I'm not sure why, but it'll be interesting because the NFL always wins. And there's a situation where the NFL might not win. So we'll keep it tuned here. We'll give you guys updates when it comes to that. And hey, if they lose, that's a little bit of money in my pocket because I've had Sunday ticket every year since like 2001. So I'll take it.
Along those lines, Chattanooga actually has EPB, and they were referred to as Gig City. I have friends in the Bay Area and Silicon Valley, and they were like, wait, Chattanooga, Tennessee has some of the fastest fiber optic cable and internet in the country. And it's true. Where I live, it's an old boys network. So I had to get direct. And I got Sunday ticket. And some of my fucking bills were $500-600 because the way they split out, I can't even think of the word, but the way they distribute or appropriate, damn it, I can't even think right now. DirecTV over 6 months, and I mean $400 or $500, and my Raiders sucked. And finally,
there's no way you know what your cable bill is.
Oh, dude, it comes straight out. I'm just like it's one of those that I actually look at because it's on my cell phone too, AT&T. So otherwise, yeah, I don't really look. But when they lost it, I was just like, dude, why was I? And the Raiders sucked ass. We all know that. Like, what the? I was paying so much money for what? Really, it was only because in this region, our regional matchups are the Titans and Falcons for Fox and CBS, AFC, and NFC, which is just torture.
What more do you want?
The high tech. What's that?
What more do you want besides Titans and Falcons games?
Honestly, diarrhea. I would take that over those. But no, I'm going to close with the loss of two, not only Los Angeles basketball icons, but just basketball icons in general. And that's losing Bill Walton and Jerry West. Bill Walton, it's fitting in a sense that when the Pac-10 and 12 died, if you will, Bill Walton went with it. He constantly called it the Conference of Champions. He advanced it in every way, shape, or form. Every sport there was, it is the West Coast, so weather does play a factor in swimming and diving and beach volleyball. And the Pac has. He was just an encyclopedia of sport and other knowledge. A man that people don't know basketball-wise. When he got injured with his foot, it was sort of before surgery could save you. It was a death knell, and he continued to play. At UCLA, he went 86-4. He was part of an 88-game winning streak. He was unstoppable. He won a championship, and the only championship, with the Portland Trail Blazers. At that point, he could barely walk. He came back with the Celtics in 86, actually played a bit of a six-man role. Boston gave him standing ovations because they appreciated who he was. Not to mention, a man who just, again, didn't care what people thought, outgoing deadhead, just a Jeopardy master, if you will. If there was a name, knowledge. If there was a story about someone, he knew it. And he was by far the best part of watching Pac-12 basketball, let alone after dark. And he will be missed. There's no doubt about it. And again, to an extent, it's fitting because he has been synonymous with the Pac, especially in basketball over the last 15 years. Finally, Jerry West, who is the logo. For those that don't know, Alan Siegel painted the logo for Arby's, for MLB, for a number of other things. And Jerry West's physique, a man who was a point guard, a scoring leader, assist leader, 10-time all-first team NBA, only one championship, but that's also because he played against Red Auerbach Celtics with Bill Russell, etc. And they beat them. I think they won 10 in a row. But assist leader, defense, you name it. Just an exceptional individual. But most importantly, he was just so well-rounded. And as a GM, he helped orchestrate basketball on the West Coast, first of all, building the Showtime Lakers, helping to draft Magic. Jerry Buss, who, if anybody's seen the Lakers Showtime show on HBO, it's 100% the case, with boobs walking around and his grotto and whatnot. And Jerry Buss liked that, and he liked Jerry West, and he said, here you go, gave him the keys. And he was an 8-time NBA champion as executive with the Lakers with the Showtime era. He brought it back with Shaq and Kobe. He was a consultant with Shaq and Powell. Finally, he helped develop the Clippers with CP3, eventually Kawhi, Paul George, and then left for the Warriors and helped them win championships in 2015 and 2017. Most importantly to me, though, he was the best talent evaluator I've ever seen. And on July 11th, 1996, Jerry West orchestrated a trade with the Lakers from a good player in Vlade Divac for the rights to the Charlotte Hornets' 13th pick, a man who they said they didn't have any place for at the time. That was 18-year-old Kobe Bean Bryant. The rest is history. Just an indelible part of basketball on and off the court, a brilliant man, a brilliant individual, just everything you want in a human being. Rest in peace, Jerry West. And for that, I'll say thank you to everyone. Again, we ran long, but I think we all kind of missed each other secretly. And once we got on football, we talked about receivers for 3 hours. But hey, that's kind of why we've been off for a little bit as well. We wanted to start back up. We can't wait to see what college football looks like. For myself, for Tom Sloan, for the attorney back from Memphis alive, which is a good thing, Robert Davis, and for who is it, Escalante? Who's the dude that hooked you up this week to see?
Escalante's the owners of our course, yeah.
I figured that, the Escalantes, for getting you ground passes to see Captain America, Mr. DeChambeau, Brandon Chain. Again, I'm Raj. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Peace out.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Reckless Speculation. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, searching Reckless Speculation. Catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to catching you right here next week with another exciting episode of Reckless Speculation.